July 3rd, 1863, for Pickett's charge, right behind me, the Confederate soldiers will be lined up along Seminary Ridge and out in front of it, and the Confederate artillery line is right across the street from the Klingel farm. There's at least 4 Confederate artillery batteries right behind my shoulder, right across the Emmitsburg Road, including the one that actually fired the opening shots for the cannonade on July 3rd, 1863. That'd be Miller's Battery, Louisiana Artillery, right over here behind us. Also, coming right through this property, right where I'm standing, will be Floridians on July 3rd, 1863, from David Lang's brigade, attacking on the 3rd day of the battle, as well as Alabamans from Wilcox's brigade for July 3rd, 1863. So we have Confederate soldiers all over this property on July 3rd, 1863, because on the 2nd, the Union soldiers that are up here, and a lot of the monuments up here are Union, are defeated and driven back. Well, unfortunately for Daniel Klingel and his family that lived in this farm at the time of the battle, and we call it a farm, it was 16 acres during the time of the battle, and it was a farm that he actually got goods to keep his family in subsistence. It wasn't a farm in the sense of a commercial farm, and he was a cobbler, a shoemaker by trade. And so we know a little bit about this because he filed a claim after the time of the battle. Before the Battle of Gettysburg, he was on the way with prosperous trajectory here at this place. He bought this place in the spring of 1863. He improved it, and then the Battle of Gettysburg happened. And after the Battle of Gettysburg, Daniel Klingel says that when he came back to this property, and he either came back on the 4th or 5th of July, he found dead men all around it. He found wounded soldiers that were in the home actually on July 1, and then he left on July 2nd and came back. And he said he could not live in the property for 4 or 5 weeks. One account says 4 weeks, another says 5 weeks. And he submitted a claim for $880.50. Unfortunately, Mr. Klingel was awarded $2 out of $880.50 for 300 pounds of hay. And this was not awarded to him until the 1880s, 20 years after the Battle of Gettysburg. He sold this property a few years after the Battle of Gettysburg, and then later on he moved down to Baltimore, Maryland. He died here on a visit to Gettysburg to his family. But he had about $5,000 worth of real estate in 1870. So it looks like he recovered from this, but he himself and his family, surrounded by his neighbors, had to rebuild this place immediately after the battle, and there was really no mechanism for the government to help them. It was the community coming together and helping each other here. You know, when we tour the Gettysburg battlefield and we think about everything that happened here, the civilians had to rebuild their whole lives. I think it's really hard for most people to come and tour here because they're always thinking about the soldiers. The soldiers leave here. They don't see this place again unless they come back for a reunion. But if you're a civilian, you've got to live here. You've got to rebuild your lives. And so there's persistency, there's community service here and community effort, there's resilience, there's true grit in my in my estimation. These folks are tough, and many of them spend sweat equity in trying to get this place back to where it was prior to the Civil War. Some of them sell out. They don't have much choice. This house struck by many bullets, also struck by artillery shells here. But at the end of the day, Gettysburg survives that, and it survives that because the people come together and carve out an additional life here. You heard about what the Klingels did. What would you do if you were faced in this same situation? Do you cut and run? You sell the property? Do you rebuild your life right here where it is? Do you sell this and start somewhere else nearby, or do you move totally away from the area? And the civilians at Gettysburg had answers for all of those. They did all 3 of those things. But what would you do? Standing out here on the Klingel farm, you can't help but be moved by the story of the Klingels, the story of the men that fought in and around this property. The National Park Service and the Gettysburg Foundation need your help. We need your help to rehabilitate this treasure that sits along the Emmitsburg Road, this eyewitness to the greatest battle of the American Civil War. And why don't you help us, help the Park Service rehabilitate this place? Honor the people that were here and the people that fought and died here.